Hello, divine creations, divine marvels, children of God. Thanks so much for dropping by. So, I was first exposed to Advaita Vedanta in 1992, and I've been looking at it, reflecting on it. Since then, I got much more serious around 1999, and I finally come to my own personal conclusion about it. And I was shocked to discover that my conclusion about it has actually been shared by many, many, many Hindus throughout history, and not just many Hindus, but many Hindu gurus, sages, and saints. My conclusion about Advaita Vedanta, first, I'm going to talk two things: the philosophy and then the path. The philosophy of Advaita Vedanta, I consider it incomplete and partially delusional. And not only that, it's in direct contradiction to the very things it claims to be based on. So we'll start there. Vedanta, of which Advaita is just one sub-school of, is a sort of an ancient school within Hinduism that's really been in existence from the beginning of Hinduism. Hinduism doesn't really have a beginning, but Vedanta is based on the idea that salvation comes through. They call it, of course, mukti, or liberation or enlightenment, comes through union, communion with the Supreme, called Brahman, usually called Brahman. There's sometimes different words. And that the distance between us and Brahman is actually, we all have this sense of separation, pre-liberation, pre-liberation separation. But it's actually an illusion that the Supreme is actually so much closer to us than most people experience in their day-to-day. Those are really the fundamental ideas of Vedanta, and that our nature is actually divine. Those are really the fundamentals of Vedanta. And these ideas have been recorded in three primary sources: the Bhagavad Gita, the Upanishads, and the Brahma Sutras. And you'll find these ideas talked about and looked at from all these different angles. But that's where the school. If you say what is Vedanta, I just expressed the primary ideas, really the essence. But on another level, Vedanta is those three sources, meaning that's really the foundation of Vedanta. However, Advaita Vedanta is just one interpretation of those three texts by Adi Shankara, and of course taught by Ramana Maharshi. It contradicts in so many ways those three sources. Adi Shankara looked at those things, and then he came up with some ideas that were very unique and actually not found in those things. One of them being that the world is an illusion. Another one being that the individual, Atma, is completely equal to the Supreme, called Brahman, or called Para-Brahman. However, if you read these sources, if you take the time to go and read the Gita, read the Upanishads, read the Brahma Sutras, what you'll see is that over and over, there is a distinction that union between the individual and the Supreme, yes, but there is over and over and over, a distinction is talked about, that the Supreme and the individual, while they're one in quality, they are not one in quantity. Now, don't take my word for it. Go read these things yourself, and then you will see. So Adi Shankara read these things, and the conclusion he came to is that the individual soul, Atma, is the same as the totality. In essence, what he said is the drop of water is actually the entire ocean. However, if you go and read these things, what you will see is that the drop of water merges with the ocean, but is not the ocean. So that's one of the ways that I consider Advaita Vedanta to be delusional, is it says that the individual is the total. What that means is that you, not your body, but the spark of the divine that lives within you, what sages have called the Atma, or the self. According to Advaita Vedanta, that divinity is actually everything, is the creator of the universe, the supreme ruler of the universe. It's the difference between saying, I am divine, and I am the divine. It's the difference between saying, I am of the nature of God, versus saying, I am God. It's the difference between saying, my nature, my soul is of the same material as the supreme soul, or the one, or the ultimate power, and saying, my individual soul, this, the I that I am, is the omnipotent, omniscient creator of the universe. I consider that's what Advaita Vedanta teaches. And I consider it to be delusional. And it's not too hard to, if you, again, you can go and look at the texts and see. But the other way is that while people who have realized on the Advaita Vedanta path, realized, lost their sense of individuality, lost all attachment, experienced merger or union with that, they're not omniscient. Adi Shankara, as was Ramana, both very intelligent, bright, wise, loving beings. Neither one of them knew everything. They didn't demonstrate omniscience, yet they taught a philosophy that said, if what I'm saying is true, I am omniscient. Neither one of them was omnipotent. Yet they teach a philosophy that says, I am omnipotent. That I am, is the totality. Again, not the body, not the personality, not the thoughts, but the innermost essence. It's part of why I consider non-duality to be delusional. Now, one of the other interesting things that Adi Shankara added was the idea that the world is an illusion. We've been so brainwashed in the West that Advaita Vedanta is non-duality that we think that all Hindus throughout all history have believed that the world is an illusion. But actually, no. Adi Shankara was the first major Hindu teacher to put that forth. I believe there were one or two teachers right around his time who believed that, but they didn't rise to particular prominence. But throughout through the majority of history, most, not just Hindus, but gurus and sages, they didn't believe the world was an illusion. Advaita Vedanta takes it so far is that they say that not only is the world an illusion, it's an illusion. It's so unreal that it never even happened. You'll hear Advaita teachers say, nothing happened. That's how little value, not just value, that's to the extent that they say this world is non-existent. So again, this was an idea created by Adi Shankara. So if you believe this, what you are is you're following him. And the question is, it's I've spent so much time. I spent so much time criticizing Christians for like, how could you just blindly believe the Bible? And so then I hopped over to Hinduism and I blindly believed Adi Shankara, a dude I've never met whose philosophy disagrees with all the other, I just blindly, that's kind of funny if you think about it. But here's one of the worst parts of Advaita Vedanta, and no non-duality teacher will tell you this, but in essence, Advaita Vedanta says life has no meaning. If this is all an illusion, obviously it has no meaning. But if none of this happened, obviously it doesn't have a meaning. But truly, Advaita Vedanta teaches, it doesn't teach, but the only conclusion you can come to is that none of this has any meaning at all. It's a dream. The only purpose of this dream is to wake up from it. Friends, family, works of art, nature, no meaning. This earth, who cares what happens to this earth? It's an illusion. So again, you're not going to hear Advaita teachers say this, but it's kind of something that you sort of unconsciously sign up for when you sign up for non-duality. All that matters is an awakening. When asked, Ramana Maharshi was asked, well, what's the meaning of life? What's the purpose of existence? And he said, the purpose of existence is to lead one to the question, what is the purpose of existence? Which will ultimately lead one to the question, who am I? Who is the one who wants to know the purpose of existence? And which is his fancy way of saying the only purpose of existence is to lead you to the question, who am I? Which leads to, in his view, asking that question leads to enlightenment. So the only purpose of this, the meaning of life, according to Advaita Vedanta, is to wake up from a dream. And awakening in Advaita Vedanta is basically becoming a cloud. According to Advaita Vedanta, all you really are is consciousness, not consciousness and inspiration, not consciousness and, inspiration is the only way I know to say it. There's no, all you are is basically just a blank screen, just a witness. I'm not saying that's what you are. This is what Advaita Vedanta teaches. All you are is like a blank screen that's watching. You don't even have reactions to what's you don't really, according to Advaita Vedanta, you don't actually care about anything. You don't have any feelings. You don't have any desires. You don't have any inspirations. You're just like, someone who's like on a lot of psych meds, and psych meds have their time and place, but someone who's on a lot of psych meds, they just have a blank stare. They're just watching. So that's that plus someone who's really happy. So it's like someone on a lot of psych meds and maybe someone who's drunk. I don't know, someone who's like smoked a lot of pot, who just doesn't really care about anything, but is happy. That's what Advaita Vedanta says you are. And it says the meaning of life is basically to be in this state of, it's not so much ecstasy, but they say peace, deep, eternal. That the meaning of life is to have eternal peace. End of story, nothing else. So any Advaita, a lot of modern Advaita teachers will sort of wax poetic about this or that, but it's just kind of it's not in alignment with Advaita. Really, all Advaita says is you already are happy and forget everything else. Now, so basically what I'm talking about now is the theoretical, the actual path to get there. That's a different story. And in fact, I'm going to make another video about that. But, a big part of this channel has been about recovering from bad Advaita But now I think this channel is also going to be about is just, Advaita Vedanta taught well will lead you in a good direction. There's no question about it, and there's no question that most teachers are not teaching it well, and it'll lead you in a bad direction. So that's what we looked at. I looked at today is, and I'll make another video about the practice of Advaita. The actual genuine path of Advaita is beautiful, but as I've shared in this video, I consider it delusional. It's in contradiction to the very scriptures it claims to draw from, and really. Really, it's just based on this one dude. And yes, there have been people such as Ramana since then who have affirmed and said, yes, what Shankara taught is true. But having looked at it for a long time, I've come to the conclusion that many other Hindus have, that it's an incomplete path. And keep your eye out for future videos. What the short version is incomplete. It only in Hindu philosophy. There's really two things. There's Purusha, the witness, and there's Prakriti, which is all of creation and the matter in essence. There's the witness and there's matter. And Advaita Vedanta completely is just focused on the witness. And philosophically, on a practical level, it has a little more to offer. But if you look at what's behind it, I don't think anyone in their right mind would approach Advaita Vedanta. Although, if you want to kind of commit suicide, it's kind of a it's interesting. I know someone who's into, I don't know if I want to go there right now. That's a really deep topic. What I'll say to this is anyone who's interested in living the path of Advaita, I support them in that, and I'm even available to do some guidance in that. But anyone who wants to spout the Advaita philosophy, and if you try to live the Advaita philosophy, you'll pretty much go nuts unless you have a really good guru. Because like I said, Advaita, the foundation of Advaita is you're nothing. You're nothing. Happiness, nothing. You're like happiness, nothing. That's all you are. Life has no meaning. None of this ever existed and doesn't exist now. So without a really good guru, you're going to go totally crazy. So anyone who wants to try and live the Advaita philosophy or practice Advaita wrongly, that's a big part of what this channel is about, is helping people who are trying to live the insane Advaita philosophy or who are trying to practice it wrongly. And I'm very passionate about it because this took me to the brink of suicide, and I'm not the only one. So thank you so much for joining in. Take care. Much love.